I wanted this? If I could go back, I'd never have gone to your house in the first place. You were up in the booth. You didn't see. I was the only one who made it out of that theater. And for Maddie to come back and tell us there was a chance that Phil was still alive? What was I supposed to do?
If you hadn't come to my house that day, they probably would still be alive. And the cops wouldn't be hunting my daddy like some kind of animal.
All I wanted was to help you. A lot of good it did. I wish I never tried.
Guys. And I wish I never met you, Lily Bainbridge.
Can't you see? This is what it wants. To turn us against each other.
I should have never let you out of Juniper Hill.
Hello, all. Welcome back to What's On Tonight, a podcast with elaborate, quirky, and unpredictable conversations about TV, movies, and more. I'm Becky.
And I'm Mandy.
Today we are covering episode 6 of HBO Max's Welcome to Derry, titled In the Name of the Father. Please note this is a spoiler-filled podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode yet and don't want to be spoiled, come back and check us out after you finish watching.
Episode 6 was written by Jason Fuchs.
He's still fucking.
Jason Fuchs, Cord Jefferson, and Brad Caleb Kane. Those guys are back.
Yeah, all three of them.
All three of those guys. And directed by Jamie Travis.
And what is the synopsis for this episode?
Okay. Should have hit my inhaler before starting this. Leroy scolds Will for being in the sewers and orders him to stay at the base for safety. Things intensify when Will confronts Leroy and Leroy slaps him. I bet that was that moment you wanted to talk about, isn't it, Becky?
No, it's not.
Really? Okay. All right.
I mean, I do want to talk about that, but that's not the moment that bugged me. I mean, it did bug me.
Guys, we broke just a hair this week. We really do try really hard not to talk at all about the episode until we start recording. But I did tell Becky that I was super excited about this week, and she had already told me that there was one moment that in an overall really good episode that she was not so happy about. And that was my guess, that it was that one. So now I'm really excited to get to that part. Okay, back to the synopsis. Lily shows the group the pillar that saved her and how she plans to return to kill the entity, leading her and Ronnie to have a heated exchange. Oh, that was tough.
That was so hard.
It was. Hank takes refuge in the black spot until Charlotte can get him out of Derry, much to Halloran's dismay. Leroy suggests using Halloran's enhanced gift to find the pillars, much to Halloran's anger. Marge confronts the patty cakes as she and Rich get closer. Lily discovers that Ingrid was the clown they saw in the cemetery photo and that Ingrid has been searching for Pennywise, whom she believes is her father. She explains that her father was a circus clown by that name and that he left town, but she stayed in Derry. Ingrid says she saw him again at Juniper Hill years later and that he killed a child. However, Ingrid accepts the entity as her father and justifies the experiences during those years apart. Ingrid proposes that Lily go with her and sacrifice her friends to the entity, but Lily runs away. A group of masked men led by the Bowers arrive armed at the black spot.
Dun, dun,
Okay.
dun.
It was a lot, man. I just want to say right off the bat, this was the episode that I have been waiting for. It had everything. It had it being really scary. You really got to see more of Bill Skarsgård as the character instead of relying heavily on the CGI. We got a lot of answers, a lot of exposition. Things were moving really fast, and they just really, really amped up the dread. I know I was tough last week. The whole episode being kind of silly. At this point, I am begging for zombie Uncle Sam to come back and save me from whatever is going to happen next week. I'm so scared to watch the next episode.
Yeah, I call this the redemption episode. They really redeemed themselves. And there were two moments that took me out of it for like a second, but not everything else was so amazing. And like you said, it really amped up the last two episodes of the season, and it's going to be a disaster as far as everything that's going to happen, but I'm here for it. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. For the first time through this season, I genuinely have that feeling of like I'm about to walk into a haunted house and God knows what's going to happen. Whatever it is, it's going to be terrifying and bad.
All right, let's get into the episode. So we start with flashback to Juniper Hill, and Mrs. Kirsch wakes up, who we later find out is a young girl named Mabel who has seen Pennywise. So she takes her down to the boiler room to get him to show up. And then they both see the balloon and start to follow Pennywise. I have a question here. Did they de-age Madeline Stowe?
I had the same
Not
question.
the
I don't think so.
actress freaking killed it. Her mannerisms, voice. I spent way too much time wondering, is that really Madeline Stowe or is that a completely different actress?
So it is a different actress. Her name is Tyner Rushing, who played Madeline Stowe's character, Ingrid Kirsch, in that scene. So yes, no, it wasn't her, but man, it's amazing how much she looked like her. I'm going to Google Tyner Rushing and see what she looks like.
She did a phenomenal job. I tip my hat to that actress.
She looks like a young Madeline Stowe.
And not even just how much she resembles her facial features, but the way she nailed the way she speaks, that
Her
even the way she
expressions.
extended her hand, all of it was just like watching Madeline Stowe. I was like, that was really, really good.
Well, I'll tell you what both of those actresses have that they've both nailed is that crazy loco white chick look on their face. Like they have both perfected that look of the woman that goes and marries a serial killer because she thinks she can change him. Like they both had that twinkle in their eye. Perfect performances from both of them. I loved it.
All right, so then we head to the Hanlon family on base. I titled this section Father Knows Best. We see Will getting yelled at for being in the sewer, and Libra really pissed me off here.
Yeah.
Blaming Will first for being in the sewers, and then when Charlotte, being a good mom, tries to intervene and calm things down, he tells her to stay out of it. I loved the way Will, when Leroy's just letting him have it, and Will tells him, you taught me a man should never hide from trouble. That's what makes life count, are friends you make and the risks you take. Well, I've got friends now, Dad. I've got friends and they need me, and I'm going to be there for them just like you would. I was like, wow. I mean, Will has been a great character from the start, but watching him grow into this more confident, I wonder what his life was like in Louisiana, because it seems now that it doesn't seem like he had a lot of friends there, and it didn't, obviously he didn't have many when he moved to Derry, but now he's got this circle of friends that he loves and he trusts. And also goes to show that despite what happens in this episode, that his dad has taught him well about being a good man.
Yeah, I think that we are seeing the tragedy that the Hanlon family finally becomes play out. This is the beginning of it. Because, first of all, my title for that section was Hanlon House Smackdown.
That works too.
Secondly, I got some strong thoughts about that whole scene. The reason that I thought that you might have an issue with that scene is because it is kind of a bummer. So one of the things that I've thought is really cool is, like, I know I keep bringing up TikTok. It's about the only social media I'm really on anymore. And occasionally TikTok, well, actually most of the time, TikTok thinks I'm a black lesbian. It's great. It's the funniest TikTok you can possibly be on. And so I get a lot of black TikToks comments and posts about it. So funny. But, and I know and it feels stupid telling you this, but I think it's genuinely very cool because it is so rare to see fully fleshed out black characters, particularly in the horror genre. And there are some spectacular black families and black characters in this series. So it's a bummer that you have this kind of trope of the angry black father coming into play at this point.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, Will said it to his dad. He's like, it's got you. It has gotten to you. That's actually what happens.
Yeah, it uses your own failings to make you the worst version of yourself, to get you in on its agenda and doing its work for it. And you could really see that. And also, just like I said, canonically, this is what happens. Like the Leroy Hanlon of the movies is not the stoic, kind of distant but fond dad that we saw at the beginning of this series. He is a broken, angry man. And we know that Mike's dad is dead in the series and that he died after having a pretty rough life. He had, I think that he was an alcoholic, if I believe, and they died in a fire at some point. And if things are about to get as dark as I believe they're about to get, you can see how it's part of the tragedy, and part of the what's really good about this series is them showing you who the Hanlons were before they came to Derry. They didn't necessarily see eye to eye on Charlotte's activism, but Leroy was a good, respected man and a good dad and a good father, and obviously not somebody who went around hitting his kid. But that's what Derry is driving them to.
Yeah.
So it was hard to watch.
It was very hard to watch. I know it was scripted and it was acting, but man, a debate on calling it a punch or a slap.
Because that kid went across the room.
It looked like he punched him, not just slapped him. And I want to give major, major, major props to Blake Cameron, who plays Will, and I hope I'm saying it correctly, Jovan Adepo, who plays Leroy, because it was as soon as Leroy's hand connected with Will, I watched Will's face first, then I watched Leroy's face the second time, and both did an insanely amazing job. But the way Jovan Adepo as Leroy, the way he immediately, his face changed from that rage and anger to, oh my God, what have I done? And him, you could see the wheels churning in his head, trying to figure out what's going on that brought him to that point with his kid. It was intense, but it was so rough. Well acted, so well directed, so well written, so well done.
Yeah, you're right. Everybody in that scene, Taylor Page included, they all gave phenomenal performances. But I will say, I was disappointed that and maybe I shouldn't be, maybe I'm being too hard on her, and I know how the episode ends up, but if that were me, that would have been the last time Leroy saw me or my kid. Like, I would have been out. I don't feel like she gave him enough shit for what he did.
Yeah, she gets there, though. She gets there.
She does get there.
All right, so then we move on to what I'm calling white people with guns, exclamation point. So real quick scene here, but we get a lovely tour of bright, beautiful, sunny Derry, and we see people handing out posters and hanging up posters about Hank Grogan being on the loose, and people are loading up their guns and getting their ammo ready and are gearing up for a big fight. So yeah, this is going to end really, really great.
That again, this episode was ratcheting up the anxiety. Every frame, they were just doing something to layer on a little bit more to make you feel how dreadful it's going to be over the next couple of episodes. And this was where it really started to super jump off. Very ironic. You see all of these kids missing photos, and no one is nearly as concerned about those as they are hunting this poor black man who has been railroaded by the sheriff, who is leading the charge, knowing that he is the one that is scapegoating and railroading this man.
Yeah. I gotta say, I hope we get the next two versions, because what I'm enjoying so much about this is in the books, we get stories about the big to-do before the 27 years of peace. We get stories. We've not gotten to see it because this stuff is glossed over in a lot of the, iterations. So I love being able to see firsthand how this build up, how this big to do that brings about 27 years of peace is about to come to fruition. It's going to suck watching it, but I like that we're getting the chance to see this. And we know back in the 30s, it's going to be the Bradley gang, which I imagine will look very similar to this. And then the 1908, do we know for sure what that even was?
Yeah, that was where they had the big fire. That was the Easter Day the Easter Day fire at the foundry, where the big explosion that killed like 78 people.
That was in 08? I thought it was just where
Yeah.
people, or is that when it crashed to Earth where people just disappeared?
I don't know. I think people just disappear all the time. I'm not sure.
No,
There was a group of like kids that, like baseball players or something, that just disappeared one day.
no, this is,
I think that was in 1935.
this is where they were giving the history. I think even Ingrid, and maybe it was during the Depression.
She did say like people would just disappear all the time. Kids would disappear, but she blamed that on the Depression of them just running away from home.
All right. Well, I'm going to make a note, because I distinctly remember there being a discussion about how all of this whole town just completely disappeared.
I'm not sure.
But I've been reading and watching a lot of kooky, spooky stuff in the last few weeks. So maybe it's all starting to cross over together. All right. So moving on. So we go to the standpipe, and that shot of sweet little Ronnie holding the wanted poster. I just love that for a minute she gets a happy moment later in this episode. But what struck me as most interesting in this section was Lily describing what I wrote here. Lily showing off her new toy and explaining how she thinks it works. But when anybody else wants to hold it, she like snaps. And obviously the group seems very suspicious of the fact that she won't let it go. And then she wants everybody to go back, and Ronnie is like, no. And Lily gets angry and fists the dagger like she's about to use it. And then Marge goes in to stop her, and Lily just snaps and goes into that rant. And she's right. She's the only one who saw what happened in that theater, and all she wanted to do was help Ronnie. And then that fight was intense, and Ronnie they never should have let you out of Juniper Hill. And Rich is like, wait a minute, guys, this is what he wants. He wants us to separate so we can be easy targets. But I feel like it is seeping into Lily.
See, I don't know. I think it is to all of them. And I could be wrong.
But her reaction with that is the dagger is the fact that it's in her possession causing her to have these intense, feelings of possession. It made me think of Lord of the Rings. Like
my precious?
Yeah, like that's kind of how I took it as she was acting.
That's interesting. I thought that it was just because like she and Ronnie are both at the end of their rope for very different reasons. They are becoming increasingly desperate. And I do think that just general ill will between all of them right now is partly just a product of the fact that they're being chased by a killer clown who's murdered a bunch of their friends, and Ronnie's father being on the run, but also because that is what it does. It, divides and conquers. And so I just assumed that both of them were acting out of character, mainly just because of those situations. The dagger, and I could be wrong, I may have just missed some undertones there. I do know that people are triggering Lily, calling her crazy, and that she is on edge at this point. But I think it's just because everything she's been through and seen, and she's terrified. Unlike Daniel, she's not dropping that motherfucker for shit. What I thought was she was just holding on to it because it's the only thing that makes her feel safe or powerful in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that too. I took it more as
maybe she is becoming unstable.
It's having some kind of negative effect on her, causing her to just be more agitated.
Yeah, I think it could go either way.
Yeah.
I honestly could see that, but what I got from it was that both she and Ronnie are being uncharacteristically aggressive because they are both just at their wits' end. They're both, like Ronnie said later, she's just tired.
Yeah. All right, so we venture over to the black spot. Dick comes wandering in and is obviously stealing his
Dick
feelings.
has seen some shit.
Dick is like, man, talk about being tired.
I think that whole scene could best be described as fuck this job.
Yeah, I quit.
Yes.
And then we meet up with Will and Ronnie. I just love Sweet Will. You know, Ronnie's going off, and I love how Will agrees with her, even though he's not
knows that
completely
she made-
sure she did not do the right thing.
Yeah.
And then she gives that, I'm tired of being scared. And I love that sweet moment where
She goes
she
from
just,
looking like, 15, 16 years old to looking like 10 or 11.
yeah,
Yeah.
just little babies. And the scene of Charlotte showing up right in the moment of like, are they going to kiss? What's going to happen? William Dubois Hanlon, get your disobedient behind in this car right now. And I'm going to tell you something, as the daughter of a wonderful Black mother, I cannot tell you, my sphincter clenched so tight in this scene because I had flashbacks. Because let me tell you, they will find you and they will use your government name and maybe even throw in a couple of names you didn't even know you were given when you were born. And it was so fitting and exactly how it would have played out. I thought that was sweet. But what cracked me up the most is that Ronnie's takeaway from all of that is, your middle name is Dubois?
Uh-huh.
And then she mumbles, y'all think you're grown. Mm-hmm.
When she told Ronnie, you get in here too, little miss. And she goes, me?
Yeah.
That was very funny. There was a lot of young romance in the air in this episode because we go from that almost immediately back to Marge and Rich.
Well, before we do that, we go to the black spot again. And Dick is not happy to discover that Grogan is hiding in the back room. But I do love how they're showing the way a Black community will rally for one of its own. The airmen didn't even think twice about offering him a place to stay. It wasn't like, well, we need to check with Dick. It's like, you're one of us, you're in trouble. And they know how it is in the 60s where you're wrongly accused. We're going to protect you. I loved seeing that represented on TV.
Yeah, well, historically, that would have been a generation or so right after the Great Migration. So if those people weren't from the South, most of them probably had family from the South. And I mean, I think that's fairly historically accurate. Just like the way the second episode when Charlotte showed up and she had to follow the Green Book. I love that they're building in addition to loving that they're back to filling in the gaps in the history of the lore of it. I love these moments of historical accuracy of what a certain person would have done in that time and place. And again, I think that's one of the reasons that the show is just so popular, especially with younger Black people, is that it's not a side of Black history that you see very much. You don't see it represented.
Yeah. And then we get sweet Ronnie coming in and the look of relief and joy on her face. You could see.
No. It just made it all suckier because you know what's coming, girl.
I know. But even Dick was touched by that moment. But yeah, he was still pissed. And he basically just tells Charlotte to leave him out of it.
I wonder when we're going to get, one of the notes that I wrote in somewhere in here is that it's like we're watching The Shining of Derry, because as the Halloran storyline gets fleshed out more, because, with his dead homies just popping up all over the place, it's taking me back to The Shining a lot, which that's a lot. They're juggling a lot of balls, and they did it great in this episode. Like, you can tell that they are gearing him towards becoming the Dick Halloran of The Shining. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious when the moment is going to come where, or if we're even going to see it on screen, where Dick goes from being an inherently kind of selfish young man. And I don't mean that even necessarily as a judgment on him.
He's just young.
Right. Most young people who haven't lived through the traumas that Dick has lived through because of his upbringing and because of his abilities are kind of self-centered. And I wonder if we're going to see the beginnings of him going to becoming the kind of person that he became when he was Danny Torrance's mentor years down the road.
I think we will get a glimpse of it. I think it'll be used more kind of as a not cliffhanger because we know how The Shining ends, but a cliffhanger to maybe hook people to want to go read The Shining or watch the movie
I
or
hope
something like
so.
that. I feel like they're going to reward us knowing we love
Yeah.
the Easter eggs and that we see what they're building. I feel like they're going to give us a little something, not the full story, but a little something.
Yeah, I hope so.
So then we go back to the standpipe. I am hashtag team, I guess we could call him Mitch, Marge and Rich.
Yeah, that's good.
He was so, this little boy, I don't know how tall he is, but he is such a smaller person than these other kids. But when he is in the scene, it's like he's 10 feet tall, the way he just,
He has like machismo.
yes, he's a little
He's
tiny,
a little lover. He's a little, yeah.
it's so cute.
It's
And
just a lot of personality in a small package.
and he went and got her the chair, and he didn't really flinch when he saw what was behind the bandage. And of course, she's being very self-conscious because that's part of Marge's weakness is her looks. And Richie, it's like it's the coolest thing. Richie
I know it's tough.
tells her it's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
See, that was such a understated way to really bring Marge's character to full fruition. Like you really get that what she loves about like Marge's biggest fear this whole time has been people seeing her for the real her, warts and all, and rejecting her. And so for this boy to see her at her absolute ugliest with this god awful pussy eye, like what did she do to the damn eye? Why is it pussy now?
Because it has to heal. I don't know. Let's not focus too much on that.
Right. All right. So we're gonna yada over whatever is wrong with Marge's eye, but the point is that he sees her at her absolute worst, and he accepts her, and that is what allows her in that next scene with the patty cakes to have the strength to do what she did. And I love that. I love that they allowed her that moment. I love that they let us see how this kid became such an important person to her. Because I do think it's going to end up being that she's Richie Tozer's mom. One of the things that I noticed, and I actually have to give some credit, I was trying to look to see something else in the Reddit thread, and they pointed out that, but never mind, I'll bring it up later on. I don't know. There's an Easter egg later on that further points to the fact that she's probably Richie Tozer's mom.
Oh, good.
And you can just see if as we all believe, poor Rich is not long for this world, you can see why in the short amount of time that they knew each other, he really came to mean as much to her as he did, that she would end up naming her kid for him.
Yeah. My last note on that whole thing is it was so cute when he was using his saliva to try to loosen the tape. And he says it has antiseptic properties, and Marge says, I don't think that's true. And Rich says, who knows? Sciences are constantly changing.
Shit up. Yeah.
But that's what Will told him. Will told him that. So
Will did tell him that, but he also just makes shit up.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah, me too.
I love it.
They've built a lot of personality into that kid, which is going to make it even rougher when we see that.
I'm blocking it out. I'm like, Rich will live on forever in my heart.
We should just stop watching now. If we stop watching now, these kids have learned to stand up for themselves.
They defeated it. There is no 27 years later, Richie.
Right. No, we don't know. It may be they defeated it, maybe not. But we do know that Marge has finally got a little boyfriend. She stood up to the patty cakes. They got the black spot going. If we just stop now, as far as we know, those white racists just go home with they're just like, my bad.
Like, oh, sorry, wrong house.
Wrong shack
and they
in the
just
woods.
turn and leave. Yeah.
Yes. We could just believe that.
So then we move ahead to what I'm calling drunk Dick. Dick is limp Dick. Oh, that's what I should have called it.
Oh my God, what did I call it? It was something close. Hold on. In Dick's head. That's what I called it. Get
okay.
it?
Get
In
it?
Dick's head.
Yeah. So Dick is obviously not handling his unlocked box drama coming back to his head. So he's using alcohol to dull the pain, which is a very common thing people do. And Leroy comes to visit with new orders from Shaw to resume hunting for the pillars. And as Dick is hearing this, he sees Dude with half of his face missing. And Dick is like, yeah, we pissed it off. But Leroy seems genuinely concerned, wanting to understand what happened to him and why he was in the sewers for so long. And kudos to Chris Chalk as he gets into the story about how his grandma taught him that she saw he was struggling and taught him to put all of those things that he didn't want to see anymore in that box. And he did that. And I thought it was a big reveal that he says he did that at 9 years old and he hasn't seen anything since. And now it is in his head and has let everything loose.
Yeah.
That was well done.
Yeah. I'm glad they clarified that because we were right. We kind of figured that out, but I'm glad they put a pin in that so we knew exactly what was going on in Dick's head. And I also wrote, because Dick is like pretty much just telling Leroy, I don't give a fuck about your agenda at this point. And I wrote, this is the correct response, Dick. Fuck the Air Force.
Yeah, for sure. Leroy's listening to him. And I did appreciate how Leroy didn't dismiss Dick when he said he was seeing dead people. Like, I think he made the comment there too that met their demise in this room. And he really seemed to care about what he was going through. And I thought it was very telling that he says to Leroy, seems the dead know how to find what they're looking for. And Leroy pleads with him, taking that as, okay, so they know how to help us capture it, and begs him, put the mission first. But then he snaps and he's like, well, you can either do this or you can be led away here in handcuffs. So it's just whiplash with Leroy.
Leroy's still not getting it. Dick is now understanding, but Leroy's still not getting it, that this is bigger than the military. Your priorities are all out of whack. These assholes have put you and everybody you love in danger and don't give a shit about that as long as their objectives are reached. And he's still on the wrong track with his priorities. I'm getting more and more frustrated with Leroy.
Well, it's not going to get any better.
No, it is not. And so is Dick.
Yeah, I think Dick's getting fed up with everybody.
My whole quote was, fuck the Air Force when a sewer clown is in your head.
Yeah, priorities. So then we go back to the Hanlons, and Charlotte is not happy. And Leroy is trying to explain that all of this is happening because his head is all messed up. He shot and killed Polly, and that none of this is him. He's like, it, in quotation mark, wasn't me. And again, Leroy seems to be light bulb going off, realizing where he's messed up. But then what does he say? Well, I'm just trying to protect this country.
Just trying to protect this country.
And Charlotte's like, no, that's it. I'm done.
Finally.
But I really loved it that she's like, you don't want to make this right. When you're ready to make this right, find us or whatever. And he's like, that's what do you think I'm trying to do right now? And she's like, no, not with me, with your son. And that was the mic drop.
Yeah. This entire episode, Leroy was terrified the whole time. Like the entire episode. Where is this whole... I guess maybe if I have one quibble is we still have all of these examples of Leroy being afraid and no explanation for why they believed that Leroy had no fear or how that whole thing is supposed to work or why it matters.
I told you last week I have removed that part.
You've just quit.
I locked it in a box. And I don't even know what you're talking about right now. Leroy has no fear? Weird.
Yeah. Okay. Well, everybody else out there, we're going to need to see some closure on this. Don't make me, Leroy, don't make me vote you least cool character in this whole thing. Right above Chief Bauer.
If they're going to use the 2000s movies as kindling for this fire that's growing, Leroy is not going to walk out of here the hero
No.
because we know he ends up taking care of Mike and he's a dick to Mike.
Right.
I still hope they change Will Hanlon's
some
story
degree.
to something
Yeah.
better. But if they're going to continue on this route, I would not expect to like Leroy. I feel like whatever we had with Leroy is almost completely gone and we're never going to get it back.
That's kind of how I feel too, because the fan in me appreciates where I think they're going with this, because canonically it ties things up and it gives us what we were talking about earlier that we're really enjoying about this, which is the backstory of fleshing out these things that we already knew from the book. So partially, like, I might be annoyed a little bit if they retconned it and changed everything. But on the other hand, the person who really enjoyed seeing the Hanlon family and was hoping for the best is really dreading the next 2 episodes, because I think you're right. I think what we're seeing is the creation of the Leroy Hanlon that we get in the movie.
Yep.
And I don't think that they're going to change Mike's trajectory. I think Mike is going to become really messed up by watching the vast majority of his friends get killed in a sewer.
You about Will?
Yeah, Will, I'm sorry. Yeah. My daughter Ava started watching this week and I had to try to explain the whole storyline between the grandfather, the father, and the son. And I kept doing that, mixing Mike and Will up the entire time. And she's like, I kept throwing her completely off of like, you just said Will did that. And I was like, yeah, I meant Mike.
Like, yeah, you should listen to our podcast.
Right. Yeah, we do that constantly.
It's fun. I think most everybody knows who we're talking about. So I think we're okay there.
Yeah. With my menopause brain, I'm real good to just like think in one timeline.
I'm happy to make it out of the door with pants and shoes on.
Right.
All right, so Pickle Dad returns.
I've got the same note. Pickle Dad! Exclamation point.
If we were to do awards for creepiest iteration, see what I did there?
Iterations.
I would give it to Pickle Dad for sure.
I don't know that he's the creepiest, but he's a fun one. I enjoy him. I like a good Pickle Dad pop up, and I'm glad we got one in this episode.
So Lily's in class, her dagger starts glowing. She opens her desk to see Pickle Dad basically giving her the same warning that he tries to give the Losers Club when they're all planning to attack him, that, you know, you can't kill me, blah, blah, blah. And for Hank to be a wanted fugitive, these kids sure are okay with talking about his whereabouts like it's not a big secret. I mean, Richie and Marge having that discussion at the lunch table, I was like, y'all might want to whisper or something.
Yeah, they don't.
Because I bet you it's the lunch lady who called in that anonymous tip because she overheard them in the line talking about where Hank Grogan was.
And I mean, they weren't being shy about it. And Ronnie, she'd be pissed if she found out that they were.
For sure. I thought it was cute where they're talking and they both talk about how they're hearing voices in the pipes, and Rich doesn't want to go to the bathroom, so he's peed in a bottle by the bed.
Yeah.
And Marge is just like, I forget what it was she said, but she like propped him up instead of making him feel silly, or obviously he was embarrassed. It was so sweet.
Yeah, it's really been cool to see Marge's character become more fleshed out instead of just being Lily's bully. I like that they're giving her a redemption arc, because she had been so nasty to Lily and so willing to go along with everything. I wasn't certain when she came back after the injury that she wasn't still in some way being influenced by Pennywise, but I think now she's all the way back.
Oh yeah, well, she sure showed them too. I love that.
That was great. That was one of my favorite moments from this whole series.
I am a freak. Oh, that was so good. And then
that's all you have to do to bullies, man.
Old girl choking on her gum. And then the Rich's face and her smile after the patty cakes disgustingly walk away.
Yeah.
So sweet. Well, this next segment, it was very brief, but I titled it, "You Have a Baby in a Bar."
In a bar. I saw that. That's a good one.
So all the kids, minus Lily, make it to the black spot to try to convince Ronnie that they all need to fight this thing together. And when we come back to this whole thing, I'm going to explain where they lost me for just a few minutes, but not enough to ruin the episode. So we go from there to the big reveal.
Yep, I was right.
You were right. I still don't think I think she's messed up in the head and wants so badly that this is her dad, once everything's explained what happens back in 1908. I don't think she's an it puppet. I think she knows the only way to get him to show up is to have these kids around. Because I don't think she wanted Mabel to die when Mabel died.
I disagree. I thought the same thing. I wasn't sure the first time I watched it, so I watched it really carefully this last time. And that is why I chose the analogy I did, that she is like those crazy chicks that go and marry serial killers. Because I got a real point I want to make, and I don't know how articulate I'm going to be getting it out, but what is new? So I'm just going to give it a whirl. When she is walking with that little girl, when she first hears, the whole story about I've been seeing Pennywise, she takes him down there. Do I think that she sat and in her mind, did she allow herself to know I'm taking this child down there to sacrifice her because for a minute I might see my daddy in that clown? No, I don't think she allowed herself to know that. But I think inside her, she knew that's exactly what was going to happen. And when she took her down there and we see Pennywise come, she's got that same like terrified but excited look that those wackadoodles have that go marry Jeffrey Dahmer and shit, that she's intoxicated by the idea that this awesome being is here and it might pay attention to her, and potentially that her daddy is in there somewhere.
Well, she 100% believes her dad is in there somewhere. That's not a question.
I do. Well, see, but that's the thing. It is a question because, yes, I do think that she knows that. I think this character is very good at not allowing herself to know things that she doesn't really want to know. Deep down, I think she knows her father is really dead and that thing is not her father. But I think she is craven enough and broken enough and just fucking crazy enough that she's willing to sacrifice some children now and then to pretend for a moment that her father is back. So, first of all, I don't think she wants the kids. I don't think she can live with herself if the kids know that she is part of the whole thing. So she kept up the pretense of I'm this sweet, angelic nurse who just wants to care for you. But if you watch it, when she's running away and Mabel falls, there's no reason she should have let go of Mabel like that. And there's no reason she should have immediately got that door shut in Mabel's face like she did. And then when Mabel's got her arms coming underneath, she's holding that child's arms so that he can, not trying to pull her through, not like in a sweet way. She is holding that child's arms so that it can get that little girl. And
I didn't agree with that.
Well, I would say go back and watch it and let me know what you think next week, because I didn't think so the first time. But when I watched it the second time, I was looking at her hands to see if it was like a desperate scramble. She was holding that child's hands still, like with a firm grip, while it was eating her. And then the blood came through and she had to deal with that reality. And she is not capable of dealing with that fully and taking complete responsibility for her part in that. So she danced away from the blood. But no, I believe there is a large part of her that is aware that her father is not really in there and that she is totally okay with sacrificing these children.
Yeah, I think I don't disagree with everything that you're saying. I more just kind of have a counterpoint that I don't think she's pretending. I think she genuinely, like when she first starts she hears the word Pennywise, she's going to think about her dad. It is evident that we have, and I hope if we get 2 more seasons, we get young Ingrid, we get Bob Gray, We get their relationship. We get why because she says he was taken from her. Did Pennywise kill him? Did something else happen to him? And Pennywise just decided that was the form he wanted to take to attract and eat kids. Something very traumatic has happened throughout her life.
Well, in the books, Bob Gray was a child killer. Somehow, and that's part of what we don't know, was it fully him, or was it like, because, one of the things I've noticed about Bob Gray, especially in this iteration when they show the flashbacks, is how much he looks like Jack Torrance, Danny Torrance's father in The Shining.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the through lines of The Shining is that Jack Torrance does all of the terrible things to his family that he does. Some part of Jack Torrance has to actively accept the whatever it is that's in the Overlook inside of himself to allow it to help him to make him into a murderer and a killer. And I feel like that, and this is, we really don't know, we won't know unless they do get that 1908 season, but that's kind of what was happening. I think that's why he looks so much like Jack Torrance. I think they're deliberately kind of leaning into that. And I think that's what happens with her father. He was a clown and he was a performer and he was raising her, and maybe he was, the only parent she had. I think he was probably abusive and she was a broken kid. What's a codependent relationship with this abusive father? And Pennywise got inside of him and he started doing Pennywise's bidding. And then they got a hold, at least according to the books, he just disappeared one day, but it was implied that like the townsfolk killed him.
Something happened. And then she goes on to, when she's telling Lily the story, which was another great reveal, the way they chose to do that. I loved the shot of Ingrid's head pop up on the stairs.
Yeah.
And then
I was like, Lily, don't go up there. What are you doing? You hear crazy Victrola music.
Lily goes to the Kirsch house and no one's home. So what's the sensible thing to do? Go on in and wander around.
Yeah. I put Lily, you in danger, girl.
Yeah, run, girl. But anyway, so as she's telling Lily the story, she tells him that he was taken from her. And she says one day she saw him. He was changed, but it was him. And every time he returned, a shadow would steal him away. So she did what she had to do to see him again. And she feels like if he could see her one more time as his periwinkle, then he'll be able to break free. So I believe Ingrid truly believes that that's her dad, that maybe, something has got a hold of her dad. But when she looks at Pennywise, she sees her dad. Like after he just killed that kid, and she's like, Papa?
I loved how Pennywise was like, who? Papa?
Like, yeah, girl, I'm your daddy. Come here. I'm hungry. Yeah, come bring me a plate.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, no, she absolutely, like when Lily says that she's scared and Ingram promises nothing will hurt her, but basically she does tell her that her friends are fair game. She'll do what she needs to do to get her dad back. But what really caught me off guard is how she thought Lily was going to be like, okay, cool. Yeah, you go ahead, which might be me. And honestly be like, yeah, you go ahead. Mandy's free. She'll run downtown with you. I'm going to stay right here.
I think we're almost saying the same thing.
I
with
think
just
we
one
are.
One little difference. I do believe that part of her thinks that's her father, but I think the deeper, truer part of her, the one that is okay with sacrificing children, knows that's not really her father. She just she broken.
Wants it so bad. She's willing to turn a blind eye.
Right. That I think that, whatever the relationship was between her and her father, he had already broken her so much by the time that whatever happens, that she was willing to do anything to see her father again. Because that's
what she knows. That's and it's like, you look at relationships. I didn't have didn't have the best relationship with my dad growing up. So when I started dating age, I was looking for men who treated me like he did. Right. And made some unfortunate choices. And so she marries the abusive asshole.
Yeah. Which is another clue that her father was not a great guy. Yeah.
Right. And I did love her delivery of the part 2, Mrs. Kirsch, where she says, "No one who dies here ever really dies." Thank you for that, writers.
Yeah, I think that Mrs. Kirsch is Ingrid Kirsch is what happens when you look in the deadlights and it lets you go
Wander
out,
around for a while.
wandering in the world. Yeah. Yeah, I did. I don't know if you noticed this, but when she was flipping through the photo album, there was one photo. I didn't get a real good look at the photo, but the note next to it was Ranch Visit 1908. So I wonder if that's going to come back. Happened to pick up on that, so that's just something to keep in mind for later.
Sure. The ending of that particular scene was so heartbreaking when Lily, gets her with the dagger and flees, and the scream that she lets out as she's flying away on her bike. I wrote here, I felt that in my soul. She feels like she has got no one now.
Yeah.
All her friends are mad at her. She's mad at them. And Ingrid was the one person she thought she could trust and rely on. And now she's gone. And kudos to the young lady who's playing Lily. That was definitely her shining moment as far as acting goes. That hurt me so much.
It did. I mean, I feel so bad for Lily. Everybody keeps calling her crazy. Quite honestly, she's a lot more sane than I would be if I had seen the things that she has seen. Because, Ronnie's not wrong. Lily showing up at her house brought a lot of this on them. But that's one of the things I really enjoyed about this episode is having to make my brain go back and remember, how did this all start? And you start going through episode by episode how it has been weaving this little web to get everybody exactly where he wanted them to be, from whatever he's been using Ingrid for as far as Hank goes to manipulate him to get him to the black spot, but also to get Lily to go to Ronnie's house in the first place. I feel like you're seeing where there's been this web that's been woven throughout this whole series to get all the players where he wanted them on the chessboard. But, Ronnie's not wrong. Lily showing up and dragging her into this is largely what got her and her father involved. But Lily's not wrong either. What else could she have done in that situation? She's a little girl who, she's hearing her dead friend in the pipes, and she knows that the last place he was the movie theater. And then after, she's the only one that lives through this flying baby monster that ate everybody. That would have been where I was. You'd have never gotten a sane word out of me again.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it in that earlier episode. I mean, nobody was going to win in that situation. The adults needed to be the one going through and figuring out what these poor kids were trying to figure out. But of course, crappy parents all over Derry. But it was a no-win situation. But I just wanted to give her flowers for that because that really impacted me.
I feel like we keep talking about Lily maybe getting a lobotomy. I feel like Lily's going to be begging for a lobotomy by the end of this.
I would be.
For sure.
The second I looked down and half of Susie's arm was still in my hand, I would have been just holding out my wrists.
Yeah, we're done.
Straight jacket. Mama needs a nap. All right, so we head back to the black spot again, and the gang is trying to convince Ronnie to fight with them. And rightfully so. She tells them she is not going to go anywhere until she knows her dad is safe. And I'm like, actually, that's probably not going to be a good idea.
Right.
So Marge suggests that they wait outside of the black spot, which is the most adult thing anyone did in that entire scene.
A couple things, though. Who was the asshole giving these 12-year-olds booze?
We're not even there yet. We haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, we haven't gotten the one.
But
okay,
you're getting we're almost there, and that's where I got removed just a little bit.
Okay.
But here I thought it was cute. Rich is like, no, I'm good. And he just props himself up on the pool table watching all the goings on.
Did you notice him kissing that picture?
Yes. Was that Billie Holiday?
No, it was Celia Cruz. I looked it up because I was curious. I got real close to try to figure it out. It's Celia Cruz, who was probably the biggest Cuban pop star of that decade and the two decades following it. Yeah.
Well, that was a nice nod. I'm glad they put that in.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's cute. Will telling Hank everything that's going on, and Hank calls it. He's like, I can see how much you care about my daughter, but also explaining that that's why I can't let her go back with you guys, because I need to.
Because he's an actual fucking parent.
Yes. And then Will's like, I promise not to let anything happen to either one of them, talking about Hank and Ronnie. And I'm like, dude, you are so sweet.
Yeah, he's such a good kid. Which is just further why my stomach hurts thinking about what's coming up.
Yeah. Well, speaking of what's coming up, this next section is titled Racists Unite. So I wrote here in my notes, the townsfolk are restless trying to find Hank. And then our favorite sheriff, deputy, whatever he was, comes in and we find out is kicked off the force. I wonder why that happened. Maybe because Hank got away and they fired him.
I'm assuming, but again, this is just like I said, this dickhead who is of everybody in this town, the one that most likely knows, besides the kids, that Hank Grogan did not do anything to those children. And he's still comfortable with creating a mob to go and murder him and very likely a bunch of other innocent people.
Yeah. But he's pissed, and man, kudos to that actor, because that menacing look he gave.
Yeah, I do hate him a lot. He did a good job.
It's gross. But he basically gives up. He got an anonymous tip from a woman, he says, and gives up the location of where Hank is based. I almost think that anonymous call was it.
I think it was Ingrid.
You think so?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that would make sense. But wouldn't Ingrid not want the big to-do to happen because she knows he's going to disappear in 27 years? Or for 27 more years? I feel like it was it doing it.
I don't think she knows for sure that it's going to disappear. I don't think she knows for sure how all that works. I think she just knows it's back. And for whatever reason, now she can hopefully give it enough victims that her dad will come back.
Yeah, that's true. I'm curious.
Or it will at least pretend to be her dad or whatever.
So before we get back to the final moments of the episode, I want to give a nod. We see Periwinkle is getting back into her costume. I think that was a very, very cool shot. Creepy. Of her in her full costume with that light behind her. And I'm telling you right now, Periwinkle, way scarier than Pennywise.
This episode, I think this was the scariest that Pennywise has been in any, actually, I'll say the movies or this iteration, this Bill Skarsgård version of Pennywise this episode was the first time I've truly seen why people find it scary.
I think it was because it was black and white. I think if you take the color away
for sure
from Pennywise, he looks far more menacing and horror
with just the red-esque
than seeing him in his full colored regalia.
I agree. I think that the black and white definitely upped the creep factor for sure. And yeah, old Perry's just as freaky.
Yeah.
Maybe more so because I do believe that she is a completely mad thing. And I think Pennywise has an intelligence about him. Pennywise isn't fooled by Pennywise. He knows what he is. He doesn't, I don't know that he has concepts of good or bad, but it knows that it is a completely destructive thing and does not quibble about that or fool itself. She's fucked up. She's more frightening because she is batshit crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
God, Madeline Stowe's killing it.
Emmy noms.
Yeah, for sure. I hope so. Really, really hope so. For a lot of people. But she is really, really, she may be, I don't know, man. She may be my favorite character in this series so far.
So we go back to the black spot again. And here are two moments that took me out of it. I wrote here in my notes, I don't know how I feel about an adult giving these kids spiked drinks and him calling them Air Force Cokes, which was funny. They both realize they taste funny, but are like, whatever, and drink them. And it does lead to some funny moments. So not super stressing about it. But I also don't know how I feel about a grown-ass man walking up to the kid from Puerto Rico, asking if he knows how to play drums. And it just so happens that Richie or Rich is like the king drummer of all of the world. I
The
just rolled
Ricky
my
Ricardo
eyes.
of
It was
children.
dumb. I thought it was
You're right.
dumb.
I don't know how I didn't really grasp. I think I was still so blown away by all of the periwinkle stuff and so dreading the racists that were on their way that just completely went over my head. And you were 100% right. I can't believe they made the only Cuban kid a drummer.
Right. But I wrote here, I'm forgiving it because it gave some adorable scenes of Marge, Will, and Rich having fun for probably the first time in months.
Yeah. Yeah, it was clunky though. Now that you put it that way, that whole thing, I know that we wanted to see that it does seem like a bit of a weak spot in an otherwise really, really good episode.
Yeah. And then we get Dick, who is drinking alone. And then we go outside, and a couple is seeing a bunch of vehicles pull up surrounding the bar. And I just wrote here, this is not going to end well. And was Bowers the one in the clown mask? Because it would make
Yes,
sense that
I assumed it was.
MFer would cover his face.
Yeah, I assumed it was him. And I was ready to, like, literally at that point, that's when I was like, okay, bring back zombie Uncle Sam. I would, let's do that, because I don't know that I can survive what they're about to do to these poor innocent people.
Oh, it's going to be brutal.
It's going to be so bad.
And given the state of CGI nowadays, I think it's going to be pretty graphic too.
And part of what's really upsetting is that whole scene. Otherwise, just like, this is how they make you. One of the things I think these writers have done really well when they're on their A game is that they give, in very short scenes without a lot of airtime, a lot of screen time, they give even what seems like throwaway characters personality and depth, and you care about them, and that's what makes it so terrifying. 'Cause this couple, we don't know from Adam, standing out there having their little flirty conversation or whatever, like, I want 3 seasons of the Black Spot, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I want to know about all of those characters and that whole thing. And it just seems so cruel that you get into this vibe and you feel like the joy and kind of the fun that everybody's having in this place, only to have it about to go all to hell.
Well, that brings us to final thoughts. Yay or nay? Big yay for me. This, like I said earlier on, was a redemption episode. Minus those 2 moments, they gave everything that we have been talking about and asking for. And I genuinely feel like they are setting us up to be completely freaked out, which is the point of the show, but extremely happy with the way they close the season out. So I give this 4.5 Air Force Cokes out of 5.
Oh, 4 point. I wouldn't be walking after 4.5 airport Cokes or Air Force Cokes.
Did I say airport?
No, I think I did.
Okay.
I think you said Air Force. I loved it. They completely redeemed themselves from last episode in my eyes. I was on the edge of my seat from beginning credits to end. I didn't want it to end. I was so like, I wish that they had already put out the last 2 episodes, because I just really wanted to just fast forward and keep going. They got me in every single way. I thought that there was just enough special effects in this episode, that the horror was back ratcheted up. I think it helped Shaw not being in this episode at all. I did miss Rose. I really hope that with the last 2 episodes that we've got left, that they're going to flesh out more with the community, the native community that is living around Derry, so that it doesn't just become a prop to further this plot. But yeah, big thumbs up for me. I don't know. I give it 5 dancing periwinkles out of 5.
I would have given it a 5 sans those 2 moments that lost me.
If that had really clicked with me, I may have had a different opinion about it, but I didn't even really catch that, because by that point, seriously, I was about 15 seconds from a heart attack.
I get it. I completely get it. Well, we got a little bit of feedback. You want to start us off there?
Sure. From what's on tonight's Facebook page, Alma, our friend Alma Contreras, writes, Another really good episode. I feel like Lily keeps taking emotional blows every week. Poor thing.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. And finding out about her friend being that clown that followed them really hit hard. And how hilarious was Marge when she took her eye bandage off and scared off the patty cakes. Hilarious.
That was so great.
I was hella weak. I'm so glad she stood up to those girls. Me too. So do y'all think that the burning down of the hangout will happen next week? Yeah, I mean, I think the episode's name is The Black Spot.
Yeah, I think we're going to see it go down, and then the final episode is going to be somehow set up to set us up for what's coming next.
Yeah. That asylum flashback had me a little scared. Do you think Miss Kirsch is baiting kids over to Pennywise because of it taking on her father's image and she feels some kind of loyalty to it? Capitalized it. Well, yeah, we covered that. We definitely do feel like that she is at least in some way doing that. Oh my God, so much happened this episode. I can't wait to listen to the cast and hear y'all's thoughts. Thank you, Alma.
Thank you, Alma. We adore you and hearing from you every week. And I'm curious to hear what you think about next week's episode. I'm curious for all of us for next week's episode. Because you know the penultimate episode's always the best one, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got a voicemail from our friend Sam. Let's hear what she thinks about this episode.
Hi, ladies. Another great episode, at least for me, for the series. I really liked it. The behind the scenes, Andy and Barbara Machete talked about how they wanted this episode to be about the themes of it, which is intergenerational trauma, family trauma, friend trauma, community trauma. And I thought they knocked it out of the park. I thought they did a really great job. One of the things that really stood out to me this episode was just comparing the Black Spot to that dingy bar in town. And the two couldn't be more different. And we know that, right? The Black Spot in the book is this fun, warm, welcoming place. It's inclusive. It's safe. You just go to have fun. It's joyful. And then we compare that to the dingy bar in town where all the greasy, gnarly, rotting white men, because I didn't see any women there, are just drinking in silence and plotting violence. And then you go to the Black Spot where women are there having fun, feeling safe, having joy, dancing, celebrating, just enjoying life. And the kids are safe there. No one's bothering them. The Air Force code cracks me up. Come on, these kids have had a rough few weeks.
Giving them booze.
A shot of alcohol. It was a funny prank to play on them, especially in the 60s. But everyone's just joyful. This is the first joy these kids have had in a very long time. And it was just really great. And with that, I felt this sinking pit of anxiety. I think next week's going to break my heart. I don't like it. And I liked the added on where this is the first episode where there's no music in the end credits. So they use this haunting absence
I
of
didn't
sound
notice that.
I didn't
right
either.
after we just heard this fantastic, happy dancing music. I thought that was just a wonderful and creepy way to kind of set us up for this is going to be real bad. That kind of, as soon as I saw those cars pull up, my stomach sank. I just thought they did a really great job. We had our Pennywise moment. I gotta say, I might be alone in this, but whenever I see Pennywise, I think what would happen if I saw him in a room with me, alone, in that basement in the flashbacks. And I was I gotta tell you, sometimes I forget how tall that clown is. And I'm he can barely, he takes up the whole doorway and there's glowing eyes. I saw him in the basement. I pee my freaking pants. So I'm this isn't going well.
Yeah,
so
that Pennywise would have scared the pee out of me too.
Shout out for Pennywise. And, also speaking to the dichotomy of the town, the wanted posters for Hank on the front of the stores being handed out. The police are looking for him, but contrasting that with the missing kids on the side of the building, no one's paying attention to the things they should be. Yep. Wonderful writing and filming. Too far, Leroy? I get it. And he's just a kid, a scared kid. And I think Will is right. It has infected him. Mm-hmm. And we're starting to see how he becomes this good father and husband to allow this, I guess, Pennywise poop, as we learned last week, turn him into this kind of horrible old man in the 2017 movies that has zero
Sam, we're
compassion
always in the
for his
same
grandson.
wavelength.
Crazy.
And, oh man, with Charlotte saying she wants to take Will out of town, rightfully so. We know that doesn't happen. Charlotte's not long for us. And that just, speaking who's not long for us, Hank, when him and Ronnie reunited, I mean, it was so wonderful. I teared up, and then I also started laughing because Halloran has these sassy looks where he's just so over it. I'm like, fuck off, Halloran. This is beautiful. And some other things that really stood out to me. I actually like Marge now. I think she's great. When she went off on the shitty cakes, I just thought that was wonderfully done. And also, I want the shitty cakes to die horribly already. Ugh, I cannot stand those girls. And Ingrid, thank you for the name supply I forgot last week. Mandy, you were right. And Becky, I think you were saying it too. That she she's the original Pennywise's daughter. And she said the line from the movie, "No one who dies here ever really dies." That was from the Part 2 movie. So obviously she's got a lot of screws loose because, as Lily rightfully identifies, we all have dead loved ones. But if the price is seeing them again means we have to let them eat children, all of us are going to be like, I'm pretty sure no. Mm-hmm. So I'm very skeptical. I'm very worried. What would you guys do if you met Pennywise in that basement?
Oh, I'd give him Mandy in a heartbeat.
Yeah, Becky would trip me on the way out. And vice versa. I mean, I love you very much. Honestly, like if somebody told me, would you sacrifice yourself? Like they give me time to choose. And they're like, would you sacrifice yourself to a killer clown for your best friend? I'm going to say yes. But here's what I know about myself. In the moment, I'm a coward. And I know this because when Ava, my daughter, was like 3 years old, we were going to a gym that had an outdoor pool, and that pool had a bathroom that was also outside. So it was like, one of those weird outdoor bathrooms like you have at ballparks or at pools that are kind of concrete floors and they kind of smell weird. Anyway, we're going to that bathroom and I open it up and something darts out at us. It ended up being just like a little lizard, which I'm not even afraid of lizards. But in the panic of the moment, I threw my 3-year-old child in front of me to protect me from whatever it was that was coming out of that bathroom. So yeah, I gotta say that I feel pretty certain if I was stuck in the moment, Becky, I'd be trying to trip you too. So no hard feelings.
Here's where you would probably be better off with me than without me in the event of a horrifying clown sneaking up on us in a basement. Is I would most likely guarantee you stroke out right then and there. So while I'm being fed on,
right, I can
would give you time to
and
run.
I will remember you forever. I just want you to know that your memory will live on. I'm not going to go like feed children to the clown. I don't know. It depends on how you're irritated.
You don't sacrifice someone for me, and
maybe June, maybe my dog June, if she gets on my nerves bad enough. But June has Mrs. Kirsch eyes. I feel like I might be the one that gets sacrificed.
Yeah, that's if you knew June, you would agree.
I also want to say, drinking in silence and plotting violence. Thank you for that one, Sam. That is going to be the name of my autobiography.
Oh, I think that should be one of the tracks on our record.
Our punk record. Yeah.
What was it?
Oh my God, we had a great name.
Dead Polly and the Locked Boxes.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Drinking in silence and causing violence. That's the name of our first album.
Keeping the hits coming for y'all.
All right. Thank you both for the feedback, ladies. We always love hearing from you and all of our listeners that take time to do that for us. We really, really appreciate it.
It does mean a lot. And if you would like to leave us some feedback or just say hi, you can email or send us a voice message as an attachment to what's on tonight and the number 2 at gmail.com.
Or you can visit our Facebook page where there will be a post for the next episode and you can leave us feedback in the comment section or send us a message through Facebook Messenger. We can be found on Instagram as well at What's On Tonight Podcast and the number 2. We would greatly appreciate it if you would leave a comment, like, and or share on your podcast listening app of choice.
So let's go have a drink with minors at the Black Spot and share where else listeners can hear us, podcast recommendations, TV suggestions, or anything else you'd like to share. What you got, Mandy?
I don't remember if I had already recorded this when we recorded last week or mentioned it then, but pretty soon Mark should be putting out on the Adrenaline Cinema podcast feed our episode on the Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. That was a lot of fun. That was different. I've never guested on that show before, so I enjoyed podcasting with Mark, and I appreciate him asking me to be on. I haven't really had a time, with the holidays and everything. I just haven't had a lot of time this week to be digging into any podcasts or new TV. So that's about it for me. What about you?
Well, I want to suggest, since we are watching a show that is about a scary clown, for those of you who love clown horror, Hake and Daphne are covering Clown in a Cornfield.
Oh, I watched it.
I have never seen because obviously the name says it all, but
It's
they
silly.
do agree. It's what?
It's silly.
It's silly.
Yeah, I mean, like in a good way. I enjoyed it. I mean, it was
Like-
not, it's not like gonna win any Academy Awards, but it definitely was fun.
It's cool.
Yeah.
And they do a great job on their Run for Your Lives podcast covering movies like this. So if you are into that genre, please give them a listen. And also please check out Still Slaying, a Buffyverse podcast with Penny, Sam, and Kara. As for TV recommendations, I just started watching Victoria. It showed up on Netflix. I guess there's 3 seasons. I am in love with it so far. It is it's really good. So check that out if you're looking for a good period drama.
Cool.
And as always, a big thank you to Mark and Pirate Core Entertainment for giving us this platform. Please visit the Pirate Core page. It can be found on our Facebook page. And there you can find our podcasts as well as other podcasts like Dinner for Her with our very own Mandy, Adrenaline Cinema podcast, and Panels to Pixels podcast, as well as other projects that Mark is working on.
Well, that wraps up our coverage of episode 6. We will be back next week to discuss episode 7, titled ominously The Black Spot. Only 2 episodes left.
Oh, it's going to get wild.
It is. How are we going to go? Like, how many weeks do we have between this and The Pit?
The Pit, I think, is
January 8th?
Yeah, I think we only have like 2 weeks.
I'm going to miss podcasting with you for those weeks, but I think I'm going to need the palate cleansing break.
I agree. I completely agree. I think a little break before we dive into the lighthearted dealings of a Pittsburgh Trauma Center should be really important.
Man, it all kind of at our age, you start forgetting things pretty quickly, but as we're getting closer to time to start going back to the pit again, I feel like there's going to come a moment pretty quickly in the season 2 where you and I are going to be like, can we go back to the Killer Clowns?
Yeah.
Because Noah Wiley and company know how to gut
stab you in the heart
emotionally.
Yes. Oh, in the best way though.
In the best way.
If
you haven't seen it, isn't it coming out on TNT? Have they already?
Yeah, it
released
started. I watched 2 episodes the other night. I was scrolling through looking for something on TV and I was like, there it is. And it was right at the start of episode 1.
I need to call my mother-in-law and tell her she needs to find it because she doesn't have HBO and I know that she would absolutely love it. But yeah, if there is anybody out there that has started following us through Welcome to Derry and you haven't watched The Pit on HBO, I highly recommend it. There's a reason that I think, won more Emmys than anyone last season. And you really want to get in on it before season 2 starts in January.
Yeah, so good. So very, very good. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Some people never go crazy. What truly horrible lives they must lead. Y'all don't be afraid to get a little crazy sometimes and let
We're
your
not.
freak flag fly. I'm Becky.
And I am Mandy, holding it down for crazy all day, every day.
Ooh, ooh. We'll catch you next week when we grab the remote and see what's on tonight. Bye.